Today, we're talking about one of my favorite tools for supporting autistic preschoolers, visual schedules. These simple supports can make transitions smoother, reduce anxiety, and help kids feel safe and confident as they move through their day. I'll share a quick story from the classroom and break down why visual schedules work so well, especially for our autistic little learners. I'm Tara Phillips, and this is the Autism Little Learners podcast, where I share simple, neuro-affirming tools to support young autistic children with compassion and confidence. On the first day of school, Evan walked into my classroom gripping a tiny plastic dinosaur and absolutely nothing else. At 3 years old, he was bright, curious, and absolutely certain of one thing. He did not want to leave the block area, ever. Every transition, even ones to activities he liked, felt impossible for him. When it was time to shift from play to the bathroom or bathroom to snack, snack to circle, his whole body told the story long before his voice did. His knees bent, his face scrunched, and he slowly melted down onto the floor, dinosaur and all. If you've been in an early childhood special education classroom, you can probably picture this instantly. His team tried everything: verbal reminders, timers, songs, first-then boards, extra adults supporting him, but nothing helped him feel safe enough to move to the next thing. And then one day, everything shifted. Not because we found the magic words, not because he suddenly, quote-unquote, decided to cooperate, but because we made the world more predictable for him. We introduced a simple one-picture visual schedule. Just one. A single picture that showed him the very next thing in his day. We walked over to him instead of requiring him to come to us. We paired it with a transition object that he loved, that tiny green dinosaur, and we modeled it again and again and again. And slowly over time, his body began to relax. He still held that dinosaur tightly, but now he glanced at the picture. He trusted what he saw. He started to anticipate the routine. He began to transition with less fear and more confidence. Within weeks, he was walking to his own schedule, matching pictures to classroom locations, and smiling as he moved between activities. Not because he changed, but because the support we offered changed. That's the heart of visual schedules. Visual schedules aren't about compliance. They are about clarity, safety. They're about helping a child understand their world so their nervous system can settle down enough to learn, play, and connect. And this is why visual schedules are one of the most powerful tools that we can use with autistic preschoolers. Visual schedules don't have to be fancy and they don't have to be complicated. They don't require hours of prep time, but they do something that spoken language often can't, especially for autistic children. They make the day predictable, and predictability helps with regulation. But let's break it down a little further here. Number one, visuals don't disappear like spoken words do. Adults talk a lot. We often talk too much. But for autistic children, spoken language can feel like it moves too fast, stacks too many steps at once, is hard to hold in working memory, gets lost when sensory systems are overwhelmed, becomes background noise when the brain is busy processing something else. When you say, clean up, then bathroom, then snack, that's a 3-step direction. Most adults can't remember 3 steps someone said to them while they're doing something they enjoy. It's even harder for preschoolers whose communication, sensory, and executive functioning systems are still developing. But visuals stay still. They wait for the brain to be ready, and they repeat the message without needing to speak. Visuals bypass auditory overload and go straight to understanding. A visual schedule, even with just one picture on it, communicates, this is what's happening now, you're safe, you can trust this, you don't have to guess. This alone reduces so much anxiety. Number 2, visual schedules create safety through predictability. Think about how you feel when plans suddenly change. I know I don't like that. Someone tells you to stop something you're deeply focused on. Okay, I don't like that either. You don't know what's coming next. You're rushed or interrupted frequently. Ugh, that's the worst. You're in a loud or sensory-heavy environment. Now imagine you're 3 and imagine you can't communicate your discomfort easily. Or you have trouble understanding most of the spoken language around you. Or your sensory system is already working really, really hard. Or you're not sure what the adult wants you to do. Or you're afraid a favorite activity will vanish without warning. That's the daily life for many young autistic children. A visual schedule eases this mental load by showing what's coming, when the current activity is ending, where they go next, and that something they love will return later. When the day feels predictable, the nervous system again relaxes. And when the nervous system relaxes, transitions become easier. When transitions become easier, learning and connection can grow. Predictability isn't restrictive, it's freeing. Number 3, visual schedules increase independence without pressure. So often adults unintentionally create dependence. We try to lead the child by the hand. We talk them through every step. We keep reminding and reminding. We hover during transitions. We physically guide them. None of this is wrong. It comes from a place of care, but it teaches the brain, I need an adult to do this. A visual schedule gently shifts that responsibility back to the child. They learn where their schedule is, how to check it, how to match the picture to the location. This is such an important piece with little ones. How to transition without a spoken prompt, how to complete a routine step by step. Independence doesn't mean you're doing something alone. It means having access to supports that allow you to participate, and visual schedules are that support. Number 4, visual schedules decrease challenging behavior by meeting needs, not forcing compliance. Let's talk about behavior for a moment, compassionately and honestly. We've all seen this. When children drop to the floor, run away, refuse to transition, cry or yell, cling to objects, ask the same question dozens of times. They're not being difficult. They're communicating. And most often, when they're doing this, they're telling us, I'm anxious, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what you want, this change feels too fast, I need more help. A visual schedule solves that root problem, not just the symptom. It brings structure to a world that feels unpredictable. It answers questions before a child has to ask them. It makes the invisible parts of the day visible. So instead of managing behaviors, we're meeting needs. And number 5, visual schedules build trust, one picture at a time. Children learn really quickly whether adults follow through. If the schedule always changes, if the activity disappears randomly, if transition cues aren't consistent, if snack sometimes means 5 minutes and sometimes means 20, trust erodes. Visual schedules help restore that trust because they create a rhythm. And when children check their schedule and the next thing actually happens, they learn, you mean what you show me, I can count on this, my world makes sense. Trust brings regulation. Regulation fosters learning, and learning brings connection. And this is the heart of our work with autistic preschoolers. And something magical happens when visual supports become part of the classroom routine. Teachers, paraprofessionals, and caregivers consistently report fewer meltdowns, smoother transitions, less prompting, fewer misunderstandings, more confidence supporting autistic children, more time for meaningful interaction, calmer classrooms. Visual schedules aren't extra work. They're a way of simplifying the complex moments that come with early childhood. Now let's talk about what type of visual schedule works best. Here's the good news. You do not have to have a complicated setup. For most new preschoolers, the best visual schedule is simple, consistent, individualized, and you start with one picture at a time. And I know a lot of people are like, wait, I thought I had to have a whole sequence of half the day or the full day. Seriously, start one at a time, one picture, and then you can grow from there. So start small, add more when the child shows they're ready, and let the schedule grow with them. In addition, visual schedules honor the way autistic brains process information. They remove pressure, they reduce anxiety, they support communication differences, and they give children the clarity they deserve. Visual supports aren't about making the children fit the routine. They're about shaping the routine to meet the child. And when we do that, everything changes for them and for us, just like it did for little Evan and his dinosaur. Now, if you're listening today and thinking, I know visual schedules matter, but I still feel overwhelmed trying to make them work, that's exactly why I created the Visual Schedules Made Easy online course. This is a self-guided course that you can start immediately, and it's designed to take the guesswork out of visual schedules, from choosing the right symbols to deciding how long a schedule should be, to actually getting buy-in from your team or families. It's the same step-by-step framework I've used for decades in real preschool classrooms with autistic children like Evan. No fancy systems, no pressure, just practical, compassionate support that helps you create predictable routines, reduce that transition stress, and build independence one picture at a time. I'll link this course in the show notes for you if it's something you're interested in. Thank you for spending this time with me. You're doing important work, and the small supports you put into place matter. Keep leading with connection, and I'll talk to you again next week.